Mike's Daily Podcast.
You know, people actually sing that little Cafe Anyway song to me now. It's been, I've been using it for about 3 years. There's an interesting story behind that song, the little beat that you hear. Not this beat that you're hearing now, but the beat on the Cafe Anyway. It was actually a guy that used to be a roommate of mine, and he did this little thing. He liked to do, like, what do you call it, beatboxing?
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I don't know what it is. If you make a living doing beatboxing, let's just say I have so much
Mike's Daily Podcast.
no respect for you. But this is a show that's episode 1752. And how are you? That's my beatboxing. I go with the Fat Boys style is what I do. And that's my show today. Hey, you know what's new? A new type of job is new for me. I'll tell you about
Mike's Daily Podcast
in the upcoming days. But yeah, I got a new little job that I'm going to be doing. So that should be interesting. And
Mike's
I think that
Daily
the show will continue. But
Podcast.
like I was mentioning last show,
Yeah.
this will probably come to you a little bit later in the day. So, but I think a lot of you listen to this show in big clumps. You binge listen, like at the end of the week. And then you hear all these all at once and you go, oh, that's what Mike's been doing. How fascinating. And sound effects, we'll see. But it was a very interesting day yesterday. I knew changes were afoot. I knew my days were numbered. But you know what? Our lives change constantly. We're always turning into new people. There was some big speech that Matt Smith gave at the end of his tenure as Doctor Who, where he said, we change every day. A little piece of us dies every day. Hey, you notice something that's not happening right now? Doors opening and slamming shut. That's right. Yes, I know you missed the doors. Doing that the whole time. But you know why? Because they're here already. That's why. Hello, Mega Masters, Madame Rootabega. I'm so happy for your little promotion. Oh, thank you. Yes, Madame Rootabega, I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you. Look who else is here.
Hello there, Mike. This is Valentino, the banking attendant. And the guy who, he drove into the cafe, anyway.
And here's today's podcast picture.
Anyway.
Cafe.
Anyway.
Where's that sound where he drives into the... This is Bison Bentley. Do you know that? Thanks, Bison, for driving into Cafe Anyway. Here we are. The Basil podcast picture today. He is still recuperating from a very busy weekend where we went down to Half Moon Bay and Benicia. That was the podcast picture yesterday, was Benicia. And, you know, he is a boxer, and boxers look a little like pit bulls. And I, as many of you, were afraid of pit bulls before I had a boxer. In fact, I did a song called Walking My Boxer. He's not a pit bull. But yet, that doesn't really, you don't really need to delineate the two. It's that people just have turned, unfortunately, they can turn any dog into a death machine. You just have to, you know, make sure you treat dogs correctly, feed them well, give them attention. They'll go nuts, just like humans. They'll go nuts. And that's just what has, and then that makes the news. God, I hate the news. So many people. Where I work, there are these television sets that sometimes get set to network news stations because people like to watch, what's that called? Sports of different kinds. And then I see the morning news shows and the evening news shows, and I just go, that's ridiculous. It's all sensationalist crap. They talked about there was an NBC. NBC was on one of the TVs at work yesterday, and all they kept talking about was Splitsville. It's Splitsville for Meghan Markle and Prince Anthony or whoever the hell it is. And Splitsville. and I looked up online, and there was nothing about a Splitsville, just that they were moving out of some old house or whatever. Yeah, whatever. It's not even news. Who cares? It is bad. I will say, though, what is even worse is these talk show hosts that I hear a lot on the radio, let's say conservative-leaning stations, screaming the cheater thing after an election. And I heard liberals do that, too. The liberal candidate, the Democrat candidate in Georgia did that, screaming cheater. And that's just wrong after an election. You concede and you move on, but you don't go, it's all rigged. Because you remember who did that, who was threatening to do that when he thought he was going to be losing the election. He said, I will tell you at the time, I will keep you in suspense. Oh, there it is.
I will tell you at the time, I'll keep you in suspense.
Remember he said that during the debate? So it's wrong. It's so wrong. I could use that right now.
Wrong.
There we go. Yeah, because who's people yelling shenanigans? What kind of democracy we're going to have? We have no faith in the system. And I understand stuff goes, you got to be suspicious of things, but they've done study after study, and the voting fraud stuff that Trump was trying to find didn't exist. I don't know. I get the cheater thing. I heard so much of it last week and the week before. That's just so dangerous. Hey, here's a good idea in the wake of all of the disasters we've been having in California. By the way, they finally have contained the campfire, and it's taken weeks. Last week, a week ago, we were still choking on the horrible air in California. It was like we were smoking a pack a day here. You could see it. I could look across the parking lot and not see the end of the parking lot. It was so thick and awful. And unfortunately, places like China, was it Tokyo that gets the bad air? Or Hong Kong? But Tokyo's in Japan, I know. But it's just bad. And now the rain came Wednesday night a week ago, and by Thanksgiving we had this beautiful clean air. It just took a nice rainstorm and it cleaned it out. And then with all the rain, it helped them a week later contain the campfire. But it's a good idea to take pictures of your important documents at home. You may have them saved in a nice file, but take your phone out, take pictures of it, save it, upload it to a cloud somewhere, and in case your phone burns, your house burns, your apartment burns, whatever, if it all goes away, you'll still have it somewhere. Hopefully the server that's got the cloud that's holding your stuff doesn't burn as well. But yes. And finally, as we go outside a cafe anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley, The Ministry of Time is on Netflix, and I am really enjoying the show. I've talked about it before. It's spoken completely in Spanish because it's made in Spain, and it falls mainly on the plane. And it's a show about how Spain apparently has all these doors that go underground. They've got this building, and it sits on this hole, and down these steps, the spiral staircase, and there are all these doors that just look like old doors, old wooden doors, and they'll open up a door, walk through a passageway, and bam, they're in 1935. But they're in Spain. It always has to be in Spain that they appear. And it's a neat, fanciful science fiction show. They did a show, though, about the war in the Philippines, where Spain finally gave the Philippines over to America, and how there were some soldiers from Spain that were holding out in the last days. They thought they didn't get information. It's all about information these days, and in those days, and people die when the information doesn't get through. And apparently these guys hold up in a refuge, in a fort, which is actually they made out of a church, and they keep anybody who's trying to give them news or a newspaper, they would shoot at. So these guys are dying of diseases that are prevalent in the Philippines, and they're shooting each other, And it's just horrible. These soldiers that were holding out, completely cut off from information, partly because they didn't want the information. They didn't trust anyone. So it was fascinating, a comedy of errors. And they talked all about it on the Ministry of Time. It was fascinating. I didn't even know about that piece of history of the Philippines and Spain. So I've been learning a lot about that. It's called El Ministerio del Tempo. Tiempo. Not tempo. Which I have really no tempo. I've lost the tempo of this show. But hey, maybe next show we'll pick it up. So, I hope you enjoyed today's show. To sum up, there you go. No doors slamming, except for when we went outside. No gene-edited babies, as far as I know. But hey, those babies don't have HIV. But what the hell's going to happen next? The gene-edited babies. Was it in China? Oh, that's an interesting thing. Now we're all into... What was that Ethan Hawke movie? Was it Galaga? No, that's the video game that we played. With the crazy spaceships and put too many quarters in that machine. Galax. It's on the tip of my tongue. Anywho, that's an interesting story. I don't know if you caught that yesterday. About the gene-edited babies. So, what does this mean? Tall babies? Does this mean we're going to have babies all with blonde hair? It's scary. Yes, we should focus on babies that are healthy, that don't have diseases, but that's crazy. All right, so that's the end of the show. Well, think about that stuff, because that's important. Next show, it's going to be, let's see, Chely Shoehart, Floyd the Floorman, John Deere the Engineer. 336MM Daily is the number to call if you would like to reach me here at Cafe Anyway. And I'll tell you what the podcast picture is in just a second. Take it away, Ariel.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. Email Mike now at MIKES-DAILY-PODCAST@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!
The podcast picture is of me and my lovely lady friend after a wonderful meal during my birthday weekend. And even though actually that restaurant, we like the restaurant, but unfortunately their dinner menu sucks. Their breakfast menu is awesome, but somehow they didn't stick the landing with the dinner menu. So yes, you can see that picture at MIKES-DAILY-PODCAST.com. That restaurant is in Benicia somewhere. And Ethan Hawke movies, let's see. It was called Gattaca. Ugh.